and welcome to my studio space. This is an area in our kitchen. I work mainly from the kitchen table, and in this video I'm going to share with you my 5 top tips for working from a small studio.
If you're new around here, my name's Rebecca Chapman. I'm a mixed media artist and a teacher. I love working with colour, collage and photography, and if you're one of those people who likes working with mixed media materials like me, then you probably know that that comes with a lot of stuff. So this is where I create my artwork from, the kitchen table. I also do all of my filming for my online classes here, so it really has to be a studio that works for me. This is my main working area, but I do also have a desk area upstairs where I do my admin and my video editing, and then I also have a garden shed where I store most of my art materials. I kind of think of that as my art shop, so when I need some more materials I go out to the shed, get what I need and bring it back to the kitchen. This really helps. Instead of having all my materials in here crowded and overwhelming me, they're outside in the shed and I can just go and grab things when I need them, bring them in and then take them back as well. So the materials that I have in the kitchen are things that I need access to every day. So I've got collage paper scraps in there, and then I keep most of my projects that I'm working on currently in these plastic wallets. So I can keep all the collage papers, substrates that I'm working on all in one place, and then I can grab this, take it wherever I need to work with it. It just helps to keep it all in one place, so I know that each project is kind of all together. I've also got lots of sketchbooks here in the kitchen, probably too many there. Probably need to have a little bit of a sort out of those. And then I've got stencils, notebooks and papers for printing onto, and my jelly plate is here in the kitchen as well. So all of this sits on top of the dresser in the kitchen, and then I've got this little unit from IKEA which has got wax crayons, pens, pencils in, and then my paint pens, brushes and everything on top. This is in like a wooden tray that I can pick up and move to the table when I start work, when I set everything up. And I've got this little cosmetic drawer storage unit which I keep my soft pastels, neocolours, crayons, water-soluble crayons and pens and things in there. It's really handy because I can pick this up and move it around and work on the table or in the living room or wherever I need to be. And then I have this Kallax unit which holds lots of other things, but as well it holds my acrylic paint, a bit of a mess in there, hairdryer, extra water pots, and I generally pre-mix my paint into these smaller paint pots as well, so they're just a little, makes it a little bit easier, makes it a bit of a time saving thing. I don't have to squeeze out my paint all the time because I've already got them mixed in there. And so that would be my first tip for you. If you can, separate your work area from your storage area. Dividing the two can free up so much space and it can really give you more room to actually create your art. My next tip, which leads on from this, is to limit your art materials. Think about what materials you actually need for your daily art practice. Limiting what materials you use doesn't have to be restrictive. In fact, it can be quite freeing because you don't have as many decisions to make when you're making. So think about what do you always use? What do you need on hand? What do you reach for every single time you're making your work? You need to be able to access these easily. So for me, this is my sketchbooks, collage papers and mark making crayons, etc. I do use acrylic paint and I have some of it here in the kitchen, but the majority is out in the shed because I don't need all the paints all the time. Okay, tip number 3 is to create personal storage solutions that you actually need, that suit the way that you work. So for me, I use a lot of collage papers, and if you do too, then you'll know that paper can get everywhere and it can easily become overwhelming. When you've got too many papers, you just can't make anything, you can't find anything. So I've developed a system where I use these trays. I've got a Kallax unit from IKEA and we've just put these wooden strips down the side of the opening which the trays fit onto, and I can separate my papers into warm, cool, photos, neutrals, and it just keeps them all separate and keeps them together at the same time. You might use a lot of coloured crayons or felt tips or acrylic paint or whatever it is that you use in your work, so you're going to need to think best about how to organise those specific things. Is it by colour? Is it by type? Just figure out what works best for you. Tip number 4, if you're like me and you're short on worktop or table space, which you really need a lot of for drying and laying out papers when it comes to making collage papers, then I definitely recommend using some additional surfaces. So wooden or a piece of mount board is what I use. These are great for working on. I work on them at the table, and then when I've finished working on those pieces of paper, then I can lift up the entire board with all the different pieces of paper laid out, ready to dry, and put them somewhere else in the kitchen. And then that frees up my table. So that's great when I'm printing. If I'm doing some jelly printing, I can do the printing on the plate here, and then if I'm waiting for something to dry, I can then pick up the board and move it to another space in the kitchen, and then it frees up my table so I can carry on working. And my last tip would be that you do have to tidy up often when you're working in a small space. I'm not a naturally tidy person by any means, but when you work in a small space, you kind of have to be, otherwise it can easily become messy and overwhelming. So we eat at the kitchen table every night, so it all has to be cleared away at the end of an art session. And this is the perfect time for a quick tidy, and doing a little bit every day, it really helps me to keep on top of it. I hope that's been useful. I hope you've enjoyed seeing my little space, and if you're struggling with the space that you've got to work in, maybe you could drop a line in the comments below and let's see if we can put our heads together and come up with some solutions for you. Of course, I'd love a bigger studio space. I'm sure lots of you will agree with me on that one, but that's not possible right now, so we've just got to make it work, haven't we? Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.